My boyfriend's pure and innocent childhood friend came to my OB GYN clinic, and I found she was infected with 3 different STDs. My boyfriend didn't believe me. In a fit of rage, he splashed hot coffee right in my face. Do you have any idea how pure Lily is? She's never even held a guy's hand. If you're going to make up lies to slander her, at least make them believable. That night, he turned my hospital ID photo into a meme with the caption Psycho DOC. And blasted it across all our professional Snapchat groups. I was forced to resign. I was stalked, and my door was defaced with red paint until one night someone locked my garage door from the outside. And let car exhaust fill the space. Before my consciousness faded, my phone screen lit up. It was a text from him. If you had just disappeared sooner, Lily and I would have been together by now. But when I opened my eyes again, I was back in my clinic. She was sitting right across from me, smiling like a sweet, innocent angel. This time, I calmly slid the paper over. Here's your report. See for yourself. Since he believed she was so pure, then let her be pure. After all, I wasn't the one getting infected. Dr. Vance, are my test results ready? Lily Adams sat across from me, nervously twisting the hem of her dress. I looked at the lab report in my hand. The red bold letters were blinding. Secondary syphilis, gonorrhea, and genital warts. To contract these 3 STDs at the same time, she must have had an incredibly wild sex life in my past life. For the sake of her and Ethan's health, I had taken this report out to the waiting room to explain the situation to Ethan Cole. What I got in return was a cup of scalding coffee to my face, 6 months of relentless cyberbullying, and a suffocating death in a locked garage. I took a deep breath and slid the lab report directly in front of Lily. Miss Adams, see for yourself. Lily picked up the paper with a confused look. In an instant, her face drained of all color. This is impossible. How could I have these dirty diseases? You hospital's equipment must be broken. I leaned back in my chair and said, seriously, these numbers don't lie. And looking at your current symptoms, if you don't start treatment immediately, you might lose your fertility. Lily's tears spilled over instantly. She leaped up, rushed to my desk, and grabbed my hand. Chloe, please help me. Ethan and you are the only people I know in the city. I must have caught this from a public swimming pool a few days ago. You have to believe me. Looking at her tearful, pathetic act, I wanted to laugh. Getting 3 STDs from a public pool? Who is she trying to fool? It doesn't matter if I believe you or not. What matters is the treatment. I glanced at the cracked open door of the clinic. Ethan is waiting for you outside. Should I call him in and explain the situation to him in detail? No. Lily screamed frantically, covering the lab report. Chloe, I beg of you, please don't tell Ethan. He's always thought of me as a pure, clean girl. If he finds out I have this, he will definitely leave me. She fell to her knees in front of me, crying like a victim. As long as you don't say anything, I'll do whatever you want. I looked down at her. I hadn't realized in my past life how desperately she would go to keep up her innocent facade. In front of Ethan. You're an adult. You have the right to patient confidentiality, I said calmly, pulling my hand away. Since you don't want him to know, then we won't tell him. Lily sighed in relief, nodding and thanking me repeatedly. She frantically stuffed the real lab report into her designer handbag. But how should I explain this to Ethan? In a minute, I opened my computer and pulled up a blank template. 3 minutes later, I printed out a fake report showing all negative results. If he asks, tell him everything is normal. Lily took the pure and clean report. A flash of gratitude crossed her eyes, quickly replaced by a smug smirk. She was probably mocking my stupidity, thinking I had given in to my romantic rival so easily. The door was suddenly shoved open. Ethan Cole stormed in. He didn't even look at me. He went straight to Lily. Lily, how are you? Are you feeling sick anywhere? He gently helped Lily up. His voice filled with self-reproach. I told you we shouldn't have come here. This doctor has always hated you. She definitely didn't give you a good attitude. Lily immediately leaned into his chest, weakly raising the fake report. Ethan, don't blame Chloe, she said. I'm perfectly fine. Only then did Ethan turn to look at me. His eyes full of undisguised suspicion. Chloe, did you actually check her thoroughly? I looked up and politely met his gaze. The report is completely normal. Congratulations. Since he firmly believed she was pure, let them enjoy their pure intimacy. I wasn't the one getting dirty anyway. Then let out a cold snort and wrapped his arm tightly around Lily's shoulders. At least you know your place. Let's go. Home. Lily, I'll make your favorite steamed fish tonight. Lily looked back at me, a look of smug triumph in her eyes. I sat in my chair quietly watching their figures fade away. The real show was just getting started. After work, I didn't go to the grocery store to buy the seafood Ethan liked as I usually did. Instead, I went straight back to the apartment. We co-owned. As soon as I pushed the door open, Lily's giggles echoed from the living room. She was wearing a silk pajama set I had just bought. Lounging on the sofa, opening her mouth to eat grapes. Ethan was hand-feeding her. Seeing me walk in, Ethan's face immediately darkened. Why are you just getting back? You didn't even make dinner. Are you trying to starve Lily? He slammed the fruit plate onto the coffee table. She's a guest. Do you have any decency as the lady of this house? My hands paused as I took off my shoes. The lady of this house. He had probably given that title to Lily in his heart a long time ago. I'm a doctor, not your full-time maid. I walked straight to the sofa and looked at Lily. Besides, Miss Adams doesn't look like she should be eating cold, raw fruit right now. Lily's face froze and she instinctively pulled down the hem of the pajamas. She glanced at me guiltily, then bit her lip, her eyes turning red. Ethan, does Chloe not like me wearing her clothes? I'll take them off right now. I'm so sorry. She made a move to stand up, but Ethan held her down. Don't you dare. I told you to wear them. Ethan spun around and glared at me like I was his worst enemy. Chloe, don't be so ungrateful. It's just a pajama set. Do you have to be so incredibly petty? Lily is fragile. Would letting her borrow your clothes kill you? I watched him throw a tantrum over another woman. In my past life, these words would have broken my heart and I would have rushed into the kitchen to cook and appease him. But now looking at them just made me sick. Since she's worn it, she can keep it. I turned toward my bedroom. I find it dirty. I wasn't just talking about the clothes. I was talking about her. Lily clearly understood my hidden meaning. Her body trembled, her fingers digging deep into the sofa cushions. She knew she carried 3 STDs, so the word dirty hit her like a physical blow. Ethan was completely enraged. He took 3 quick steps, grabbing my wrist tightly. What did you just say? Who's dirty? Do you want me to slap you? Raised his hand high. I stared back at him without flinching, my eyes as calm as a stagnant pool of water. Try it. If that hand lands on me, I will call the police tomorrow and I'll send a ledger of all the kickbacks you've taken to your boss. Ethan's hand froze in midair, his face turning an ugly shade of green. He looked at me in disbelief as if he couldn't believe I would threaten him like this. Are you crazy? We've been together for 3 years and you're threatening me over this petty crap? I yanked my hand back with force. 3 years is just a lesson learned. Let's call it a mistake. I'm moving out tonight. I'll have my lawyer handle the division of this apartment. You'd better prepare yourself with that. I walked into the bedroom and locked the door behind me. Outside, Ethan's furious curses and Lily's fake comforting whispers drifted through the door. Ethan, it's all my fault. I'll move out tomorrow. Don't leave. If she wants to throw a fit, let her. Let's see where she can actually go. I pulled out my suitcase and began packing my valuables and documents. Halfway through, my phone vibrated. It was an informal hospital Snapchat group. Someone had posted a blurry photo of a female patient wearing a mask taking medication at the pharmacy window. Isn't this the woman who visited Dr. Vance's clinic this afternoon? Why is she sneakily picking up long-acting penicillin? Look how sketchy she's being. 10 to 1, she's got that disease. I looked at the screen, a cold smile forming on my lips, terrified of Ethan finding out Lily hadn't gone to a specialist. She was trying to quietly suppress the disease with antibiotics. But syphilis and genital warts weren't things you could just wave away with a few pills. She was playing with fire. I stuffed a few everyday clothes into the suitcase and opened the door. In the living room, Ethan was holding Lily, comforting her. Hearing the door open, he turned and saw my suitcase. Flash of panic crossed his eyes, quickly masked by anger. Chloe, look at you acting all tough, moving out in the middle of the night. He stood up, blocking my path. I'm telling you, once you walk out that door, don't you ever think about coming back. I stopped and looked at his pathetic, blustering face. Fine. I walked right past him without a second thought. At the door, I glanced back at Lily who was huddled on the sofa. Miss Adams. Lily snapped her head up, her eyes filled with sheer terror. Afraid I would spill her secret, I gave her a sweet smile. Remember to take your meds on time. Ignoring your illness will only lead to bigger problems. Ignoring Ethan's furious shouting, I stepped out into the night and never looked back. I moved into a long-term rental apartment near the hospital. 3 days later, I contacted a real estate agent and handed over all the records showing I paid the vast majority of the down payment to my lawyer. That apartment had to be sold immediately. Wouldn't leave Ethan a single dime. During my afternoon rounds, my phone rang. It was Ethan. He had been calling me every day. His tone had shifted from furious insults to a softer, pleading demeanor. I walked to the end of the hall and picked up. Chloe, where are you? His voice sounded incredibly exhausted. You've been throwing this tantrum for days. Isn't it time to cool off? Come home tonight. Lily said she wants to cook dinner to apologize to you. I stared at the traffic outside the window, my voice flat. Ethan, you should have received my lawyer's letter. I'm not throwing a tantrum. If you don't sign the property division agreement, I'll see you in court there. There was a silence on the other end followed by a sudden roar. Chloe, are you fucking kidding me? Just because Lily is staying here for a few days. You want to sell the apartment? Does our 3-year relationship mean absolutely nothing to you? He panted heavily, trying to suppress his rage. Lily suddenly got a massive rash all over her body yesterday. She's running a fever so bad her face is pale. She refuses to go to the hospital because she's terrified you'll give her attitude again. As a doctor, can you put your petty jealousy aside for once and come take a look at her? Hearing this, I almost burst out laughing. A massive rash that it was a textbook secondary syphilis rash. Combined with her drug abuse, her immune system was utterly collapsing. Lily didn't dare go to a real hospital because she knew she would be exposed instantly. If she won't come to the hospital, how can I treat her? I replied coldly, I don't have time for house calls. If she's that sick, she needs to see a doctor properly. You. Ethan choked on his words, completely powerless. Fine, Chloe, you're heartless. I'll take her to a private clinic myself. We don't need your fake sympathy. He slammed the phone down. Looking at the dark screen, I put his number on Do Not Disturb. A private clinic. Perfect. Those shady, unsecured private clinics loved using heavy steroids to temporarily suppress visible symptoms. It would only make Lily's condition deteriorate faster. After work, I stopped by the real estate agency. The agent told me there were several interested buyers. But because Ethan lived there and refused to open the door, they couldn't do any showings. Dr. Vance, if the Connor refuses to cooperate, it's going to be very hard to sell this place at market value. I tapped my fingers on the desk, an idea forming in my mind. Bring the buyers tomorrow afternoon, I said, handing a spare key to the agent. He won't be home then. There's only a female guest staying there. Just ignore her. The next afternoon, using the excuse of picking up the rest of my belongings, I went back to the apartment early. As I approached the door, before I could even pull out my key, a series of breathless, gasping sounds echoed from inside. Ethan, gentler. What if Chloe suddenly comes back? Lily's sweet, whiny voice drifted through the thin door. Don't mention that buzzkill of a woman, Ethan panted, his voice dripping with lust. She's practically frigid. Anyway, you're much better, my sweet Lily. Let me show you how much I love you. I stood outside, my hand holding the key without a single tremble. In my past life, they had hooked up behind my back. And I had stupidly confronted them only to be turned into the villain. This time I felt that even getting angry was a waste of energy. I pulled out my phone, turned on the voice recorder and quietly leaned against the wall for 10 minutes. Right on cue, I heard the elevator ding. The agent walked out with a middle-aged couple. You're here. Great, great. The agent greeted me warmly. I made a shushing gesture, then turned the key and opened the door. Click. The door swung open. The living room was a disaster zone. Clothes scattered everywhere. The 2 bodies tangled on the sofa froze instantly as if struck by lightning. Ah. Lily let out a blood-curdling shriek. Frantically grabbing clothes from the floor to cover herself. Lily let out a blood-curdling shriek, frantically grabbing clothes from the floor to cover herself. Ethan stood behind her, pale as a ghost. The middle-aged couple at the door stared at them. Then the woman slowly turned to the real estate agent. Is this the apartment? The agent looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him. I folded my arms. Unfortunately. Ethan's face twisted with panic. Chloe. He lunged toward me, but I stepped aside. Don't come near me. My voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. The buyers exchanged an awkward glance. Lily finally managed to wrap herself in a blanket. Her face was bright red, but somehow she still found enough breath to cry. Chloe, please. Let me explain. I laughed. Explain what? Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. I pulled out my phone. Actually, you don't have to explain anything. I have a recording. Ethan's expression changed. What recording? I pressed play. His own voice immediately filled the room. Don't mention that buzzkill of a woman, Ethan. Then Lily's voice. What if Chloe suddenly comes back? The recording continued. The couple's expressions went from embarrassed to disgusted. Ethan rushed toward me. You recorded us without permission. On my property. I lifted an eyebrow. And according to my lawyer, I'm perfectly entitled to document what's happening inside an apartment I co-own when I'm dealing with a tenant who refuses to cooperate with its sale. Ethan froze. Tenant. That word clearly offended him. We live here. No. I pointed toward Lily. She lives here. Then I pointed toward Ethan. And you apparently entertain her here. Lily's tears began pouring down her cheeks. Chloe, I know this looks bad, but Ethan and I. Don't. She stopped. I walked over to the coffee table and picked up one of my wine glasses. There was lipstick around the rim. Lily's lipstick. I looked at it for 2 seconds before putting it back. 3 years ago, I thought losing Ethan would destroy my life. I smiled. Turns out, losing him was the best thing that ever happened to me. Ethan's face hardened. You think you're so smart? No. I grabbed my suitcase from beside the doorway. I think you're both remarkably stupid. The agent coughed awkwardly. Dr. Vance, should we continue the viewing? Absolutely. I stepped aside. Please show them everything. Ethan exploded. You're selling our home while I'm still living here? Our home? I looked around the apartment. The furniture was purchased with my money. The down payment was mostly mine. The mortgage payments came mostly from my account. I smiled sweetly. Tell me again how much of this belongs to you. He couldn't answer. Lily suddenly grabbed his arm. Ethan, let's just go. He looked at her. For once, he seemed irritated rather than protective. Where? She went silent. She had no family here. No money. And certainly no clean explanation for why she was living in her supposedly innocent childhood friend's boyfriend's apartment. I turned toward the buyers. Take your time looking around. Then I walked out. Behind me, Ethan shouted my name. I didn't turn around. By the time I reached the elevator, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You're going to regret humiliating Lily. I stared at it. Then another message arrived. Everyone knows you're jealous of her. Nobody will believe you. I smiled. That was exactly what I wanted. Because people who were determined to believe Lily was innocent didn't need me to convince them. They needed evidence. And evidence had a funny habit of appearing at the worst possible time. The next morning, I arrived at the hospital to find 3 missed calls from the medical director. When I entered his office, he looked unusually serious. Dr. Vance, there's been a complaint. I sat down. From whom? Ethan Cole. I nearly laughed. Of course. He slid a folder toward me. He claims you fabricated a patient's medical report to deliberately damage her reputation. I opened the folder. Inside was Lily's complaint. Apparently, I had supposedly diagnosed her with multiple diseases because I was obsessed with stealing Ethan from her. I stared at the page. Then I laughed so hard the director looked confused. What's funny? This. I tapped the complaint. She admitted everything. She did? She just doesn't realize it. I pulled out the original laboratory documentation. Her tests were conducted through the hospital's certified laboratory. 3 separate samples. 3 separate positive results. The director looked through the documents. She claims the report was fabricated. Then let her prove it. I leaned back. She won't. My phone vibrated. A message from Lily appeared. Please delete my medical records. I showed the director. His eyebrows rose. I typed back. Patient records cannot simply be deleted because you dislike the results. 3 dots appeared. Then. Chloe, I'm begging you. I smiled. You should have thought about that before sleeping with my boyfriend in my apartment. Her reply came instantly. You said you wouldn't tell Ethan. I stared at the message. Perfect. I took a screenshot. Then another. And another. The director looked at me. Is there something I should know? I placed my phone on his desk. I think the complaint can take care of itself. That afternoon, the hospital received an anonymous package. Inside were photographs. Not intimate ones. Just photographs of Lily entering the private clinic, collecting medication, and leaving with Ethan. There was also a copy of the pharmacy receipt. The dates matched the period when Lily had insisted she was perfectly healthy. The director looked at the evidence. This is getting ugly. I shrugged. I didn't send it. He stared at me. I smiled. And I'm certainly not going to stop whoever did. That evening, Ethan showed up outside the hospital. He looked exhausted. Chloe. I kept walking. He caught up. Please. I stopped. What? He lowered his voice. Lily's sick. I know. She needs help. Then take her to a doctor. I did. And? He looked away. They said she needs further testing. I almost laughed. Funny how quickly the truth changes when you stop listening to her. His jaw tightened. She's terrified. She should be. He stared at me. I corrected myself. She's terrified of losing the image she built. Ethan's expression darkened. You've always hated her. No. I looked directly into his eyes. I hated what you became around her. He had nothing to say. I stepped closer. You threw coffee in my face because of her. He swallowed. You destroyed my career because of her. His eyes flickered. You let people stalk me because you thought defending her made you a good man. Ethan. I smiled. And now you're standing here asking me to save her. I stepped around him. Find another doctor. Then I walked away. Behind me, he shouted. Chloe, I still love you. I stopped for half a second. Then I turned my head. That's unfortunate. His face crumpled. I smiled. Because I don't love you anymore. And this time, I meant it. 3 days later, the apartment sold. Ethan received the settlement paperwork. His share was barely enough to cover his debts. My portion went straight into a new investment account. As for Lily, she disappeared from social media. Her perfect innocent image was beginning to crack. But the real explosion came when Ethan's boss received an anonymous file containing evidence of the kickbacks I'd threatened to expose. By Friday morning, Ethan was suspended. By Monday, he was under investigation. And by Tuesday evening, Lily was waiting outside my clinic. She looked a mess. Chloe. I stopped. She whispered. Please. I looked at her. What now? Her eyes filled with tears. Ethan found out. I raised an eyebrow. About the affair? She shook her head. No. Her voice cracked. He found out I lied about something else. I stared at her. What did you lie about? Lily looked around nervously. Then she leaned closer. Ethan wasn't the first man I slept with. I smiled. I already knew. Her face went white. But you don't know who the first one was. That made me pause. Lily stared directly into my eyes. It was someone you know. Then she whispered his name. And suddenly, I understood why she had been so desperate to keep her secrets buried. I stared at Lily. Say that again. She swallowed. It was Dr. Marcus Reed. My stomach dropped. Marcus. The hospital's chief administrator. The man who had signed the disciplinary notice that forced me out of my clinic in my previous life. The man who had publicly called me unstable after Ethan circulated that stupid psycho DOC meme. And, apparently, Lily's first secret. I looked at her carefully. You're lying. I wish I were. She shoved the folder into my hands. Look. Inside were printed messages between Lily and Marcus. The dates went back almost 4 years. Before Ethan and I had even started dating. I flipped through them. Marcus had been seeing Lily for years. He'd paid her rent. Bought her expensive gifts. Even helped her get appointments at private clinics whenever she had a medical problem she didn't want appearing in her records. Then I reached the final page. My finger stopped. There was a message from Marcus to Lily dated 2 weeks before my death. If Chloe ever finds out about us, Ethan will turn against her. Make sure she doesn't get the chance to explain herself. I read it twice. Then I looked at Lily. So this is why you came. She nodded. Marcus is trying to get rid of me. I laughed. You've been sleeping with the chief administrator for years, and somehow I'm supposed to feel sorry for you? He threatened me. You chose him. He promised me he'd leave his wife. And you believed him. Lily's tears started again. I rolled my eyes. Stop crying. It's not going to work on me. She wiped her face. I know what you think of me. No, you don't. I handed the folder back. I think you're a liar. She looked wounded. And I think you're incredibly unlucky. Her eyes widened. Unlucky? Yes. I smiled. You picked 2 men who are both terrible at keeping secrets. She looked down. Then she whispered. Please help me. I turned toward the clinic. Why? Because if Marcus gets caught, he'll drag me down with him. I shrugged. Then you should have chosen better men. I walked away. She grabbed my arm. Chloe. I immediately pulled free. Don't touch me. She froze. I pointed at the folder. You came here because you think I can save you. Her lips trembled. You can't. I can. Her eyes filled with hope. I smiled. But I don't want to. Then I walked inside. The next morning, I received a call from the hospital board. They wanted me back. Apparently, the investigation into Ethan's complaint had uncovered something interesting. His accusations against me had been based almost entirely on Lily's statements. And Lily had changed her story 3 times. The board wanted an explanation. I gave them one. I brought every medical record. Every message. Every documented interaction. Every piece of evidence proving I had followed procedure. Then I brought something extra. The fake negative report. The one I'd given Lily. The board member stared at it. Dr. Vance, why did you create this? I smiled. Because the patient begged me to hide her diagnosis from her boyfriend. One board member frowned. That's extremely unusual. It was. I leaned forward. Which is why I documented the conversation immediately afterward. I handed them the recording. Lily's voice filled the conference room. Please don't tell Ethan. He'll leave me. Then my voice. You have patient confidentiality. I won't tell him. The recording ended. Nobody spoke. Then the chairman looked at me. And why did you give her a negative report? Because I wanted her to leave my clinic. I smiled. She was causing a scene, and I wanted the situation contained. That wasn't entirely true. But it was close enough. The chairman nodded slowly. You handled an extremely difficult situation. I almost laughed. If only he knew. By the end of the meeting, my license was completely cleared. The board offered me my old position back. I declined. Instead, I negotiated a promotion. If they wanted me back so badly, they could pay me accordingly. 3 days later, I moved into a private office overlooking the city. My name was printed on the door. Dr. Chloe Vance. Director of Women's Health. I stared at it for a long moment. In my previous life, Ethan had destroyed my career. This time, he had accidentally helped me climb higher. I was almost enjoying myself when my assistant rushed inside. Dr. Vance, there's a problem. What? Mr. Reed is here. I smiled. Send him in. Marcus entered wearing an expensive suit and the expression of a man who had never been told no. Chloe. Marcus. He shut the door. I know Lily came to you. She did. Whatever she told you is a lie. Probably. He frowned. Then why are you listening? I'm not. I opened my desk drawer. Then I pulled out a copy of his messages. His face changed. I smiled. You're underestimating how much I enjoy paperwork. He stepped closer. You don't understand who you're dealing with. I do. I tapped the documents. You're married. He said nothing. You've been sleeping with Lily for years. Silence. You've been paying for her private medical treatment. His jaw tightened. And you helped destroy my reputation. His eyes flickered. There it was. Fear. I leaned back. Now here's the interesting part. I slid one final photograph across the desk. It showed Marcus entering Lily's apartment. The date was the same day Ethan and I had supposedly been fighting. Marcus stared at it. Where did you get this? Doesn't matter. He looked at me. What do you want? I smiled. Nothing. His expression changed. Nothing? That's right. I stood. I'm not going to blackmail you. I walked around the desk. I'm going to let you panic. His face went pale. Because suddenly he understood. If I demanded something, he could negotiate. If I threatened him, he could fight back. But if I simply walked away with the evidence? He had no idea what I planned to do with it. I opened the door. Good luck, Marcus. He stopped beside me. You'll regret this. I smiled. Maybe. Then I whispered. But you already know what happens when people underestimate me. He left. I locked the door behind him and returned to my desk. Marcus had left the photograph on my desk. I picked it up, studied it once, then slipped it into the drawer. He thought Lily was his biggest problem. He had no idea. Marcus had underestimated how long I could hold a grudge, and how much I enjoyed making people regret underestimating me. I called my lawyer. Did you finish reviewing the evidence I sent? Yes. Good. Move forward with everything. Everything? Everything. I ended the call and opened my laptop. 3 folders filled the screen. Ethan. Lily. Marcus. I'd spent weeks collecting evidence on all 3 of them. I hadn't exposed anyone yet because I wanted the timing to hurt. Revenge was much more satisfying when the people you hated still believed they were safe. I opened Lily's folder. Her messages appeared one after another. Please don't tell Ethan. I'll do anything. He thinks I'm pure. Then came her pharmacy records. Her private clinic receipts. Her messages with Ethan. And the recording from the apartment. I leaned back with a satisfied smile. I already had enough to destroy Lily's innocent little image. But I wanted more. I wanted Ethan to discover the truth himself, piece by piece, until he couldn't trust a single word that came out of her mouth. The next morning, I called him. He answered almost immediately. Chloe? I need to talk to you. His voice softened. About what? Lily. His tone changed. What happened? I found something. What? I'll show you in person. He agreed. I ended the call. Even after everything, Ethan still seemed to think there was a chance I wanted him back. That made this much more entertaining. At 7 that evening, we met at a quiet cafe. Ethan was already there. He looked awful. His expensive watch was gone, his shirt was wrinkled, and dark circles surrounded his bloodshot eyes. He stood when I approached. Chloe. I sat across from him. How's Lily? His expression hardened. Why do you care? I don't. I opened my handbag. I'm here to give you something. I placed a folder on the table. His eyes dropped to it. What is this? Open it. He opened the folder. The first page was Lily's medical report. His expression changed. You already showed me this. No. I tapped the page. This is the original. He looked closer. What's the difference? The date. I pointed to the timestamp. The original report was issued before Lily ever told you she was sick. I placed the pharmacy records beside it. Then the private clinic receipt. Then the messages. Ethan's hands began trembling. Where did you get all this? From places you should have checked yourself. He flipped through the pages faster. Then he reached the final section. It contained the transcript of Lily's conversation with me. As long as you don't tell Ethan, I'll do whatever you want. Ethan stared at the sentence. She said this? Yes. You recorded her? Yes. He looked down at the pages again. So she really lied. I leaned back. You wanted her to be innocent so badly that you never bothered asking whether she actually was. His jaw tightened. What else did she lie about? I smiled. That's the question. Tell me. No. Chloe. I picked up my coffee. You spent months calling me a liar. I took a sip. Now you can investigate your girlfriend yourself. His eyes narrowed. You planned this. Of course. You knew all along. Yes. He stared at me. You thought I was going to forgive you? I gave him a small smile. I spent months remembering exactly how you treated me. You don't get forgiveness because you finally discovered I was telling the truth. His expression twisted. You're doing this for revenge. I set my coffee down. Finally. You figured something out. He stared at me. I leaned forward. Don't worry, Ethan. I'm not going to pretend I'm doing this because I care about justice. I smiled. I'm doing it because I want you to suffer. His face went pale. And Lily? I picked up my handbag. She wanted everyone to believe she was pure. I stood. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly who she is. I left the cafe with a smile on my face. Ethan had finally started questioning Lily. That was exactly what I wanted. But I wasn't going to hand him every answer. He needed to dig. And Lily needed to panic. Over the next few days, I watched them tear each other apart. Ethan stopped defending Lily. He started checking her phone, questioning every appointment, and demanding explanations for every unexplained expense. Lily responded by crying, apologizing, and inventing new stories. Each lie created another problem. Then Ethan found the pharmacy receipts. Then he found the private clinic bills. Then he discovered how much money he'd spent on Lily over the past 3 years. He called me that night. How much did you know? Enough. You knew she was using my money? Yes. You knew she was sleeping with me while you were still with me? I laughed. You really want me to answer that? He cursed under his breath. Then came the question I'd been waiting for. Why didn't you expose her sooner? I looked out my apartment window. Because I wanted you to choose her. He went quiet. You got exactly what you wanted, I continued. You chose Lily over me every single time. I hung up. The next morning, I received the property settlement documents. The apartment had officially sold. Ethan's share was being processed. I forwarded everything to my lawyer and went back to work. My career was recovering quickly. The hospital had reinstated me after reviewing the evidence surrounding Ethan's accusations, and the doctors who had once avoided me were suddenly inviting me to conferences and asking for my opinion. I enjoyed every second of it. Then Lily appeared outside my clinic. She stood beside the entrance in a baseball cap and oversized sunglasses, trying to hide her face. I walked straight past her. Chloe. I kept walking. She grabbed my sleeve. I pulled away. Don't touch me. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Please. I need to talk to you. You've had plenty of opportunities. Ethan knows everything. Good. He threw me out. Also good. She stared at me with disbelief. Where am I supposed to go? I shrugged. That's your problem. You can't do this to me. I laughed. I haven't done anything to you. Her face twisted. You gave Ethan those documents. Yes. You knew he'd leave me. Yes. Why? I stepped closer. Because I wanted him to. She stared at me. I smiled. You spent 3 years taking everything from me while pretending you were innocent. I pointed toward the street. Now you're going to find out what it feels like to lose everything. She started crying again. I walked away. That night, my phone rang from an unknown number. I answered. Lily's voice came through. You've already taken Ethan from me. Correct. You've ruined my reputation. Correct. You got your career back. Correct. Her voice shook. What else do you want? I smiled. Nothing. She didn't believe me. You won't stop. No. I leaned back in my chair. Because watching you panic is much more entertaining than watching you cry. She cursed at me. Then the call ended. I thought that was the end of it. The next afternoon, I received a message. I took something from your old apartment. I stared at the screen. Another message followed. If you want it back, come alone. I laughed. Lily really thought she had found something she could use against me. I replied. Keep it. 3 dots appeared. Then. You're not even curious? No. She sent another message. You're going to regret ignoring me. I smiled. Good luck. A minute later, she called. I answered. You're really not coming? No. Chloe, please. I could hear the desperation in her voice. What did you take? She hesitated. Then she named it. I sat up. That item had nothing to do with money. It was personal. And Lily knew exactly why it mattered. She had finally found something she thought could hurt me. I laughed. You really thought that would scare me? I know you want it. I do. Then come get it. I smiled. No. Her breathing grew frantic. Then what are you going to do? I looked at the folder sitting beside my laptop. The one containing everything I needed to destroy the last piece of Lily's perfect little image. Nothing tonight. I ended the call. Then I opened the folder. Maybe Lily had forgotten something. I hadn't. And now she had given me the perfect excuse to release everything at once. I stared at her number on my screen. Then I laughed. She really thought stealing something from my old apartment would scare me. Fine. If she wanted to play games, I could play too. Then I laughed. She really thought stealing something from my old apartment would scare me. Fine. If she wanted to play games, I could play too. I called my lawyer. Do you remember the evidence file I gave you? Of course. Good. I want everything released. There was a pause. Everything? Everything. Are you sure? I smiled. Very. I hung up and opened my laptop. This time, I wasn't sending evidence to one person. I was sending it to everyone. The hospital group. The professional association. Ethan's coworkers. His friends. Lily's friends. And, most importantly, the people who had spent 6 months calling me a jealous psychopath. I attached the original laboratory report. Then the fake report. Then Lily's messages begging me to hide her diagnosis. Then Ethan's messages insulting me. Then the recording from the apartment. And finally, the screenshot where Lily admitted she knew exactly what she was doing. I typed one sentence. Since everyone enjoyed discussing my medical ethics so much, here's the complete story. Then I pressed send. My phone started vibrating before I could even close the laptop. 1 message. Then 5. Then 20. The hospital group exploded. Holy shit. So the report was real? She actually asked Chloe to fake the results. And Ethan knew she was sick? Why did he call Chloe a liar then? Someone posted the old Psycho DOC meme. Someone else replied with the original photograph of Lily leaving the pharmacy with medication. Then another person posted Ethan's message telling me I should have disappeared sooner. That one ended the conversation. People stopped defending him. Because there was no cute explanation for that. I leaned back in my chair. Perfect. My phone rang. Ethan. I answered. What the hell did you do? I smiled. Revenge. You sent those files to everyone. Yes. You ruined Lily. No. I corrected him. She ruined herself. I just removed the filter. You promised you'd keep her medical information confidential. I kept it confidential while she was my patient. I paused. Everything I released afterward was evidence of your harassment, lies, and defamation. He went silent. Then his voice became vicious. You've become a monster. I laughed. That's rich coming from the man who watched his girlfriend get stalked because he thought it was funny. He started shouting. I hung up. 5 minutes later, Lily called. I answered. She was sobbing. Why? I smiled. Because I wanted to. She stopped crying. You hate me that much? Yes. The honesty clearly shocked her. I continued. You spent months pretending to be this delicate little angel while convincing Ethan I was some jealous monster. I opened the folder on my computer. You watched him destroy my career. Silence. You watched him humiliate me. Nothing. You watched him throw coffee in my face. Her breathing became uneven. And when I died, you stood there while he blamed me for everything. Chloe. No. My voice hardened. You don't get to cry now. She started sobbing again. I smiled. This is the part you don't understand, Lily. I leaned back. I'm not trying to prove I'm better than you. I don't care if people think I'm cruel. I don't care if you hate me. I wanted revenge. And I'm enjoying it. She couldn't speak. I continued. You spent years building a reputation around being pure. So I destroyed it. You wanted Ethan. So I gave him exactly what you really are. And you know what's funniest? She whispered. What? He still doesn't want you. That one hurt. I could hear it in the silence. Then Lily screamed. You think you've won? I laughed. I already did. I hung up. The next morning, Ethan's suspension became permanent. His company demanded repayment for the money he had funneled toward Lily. The amount was enormous. Lily was evicted from the apartment she had been staying in. Her friend stopped answering her calls. And the woman who had once been introduced everywhere as Ethan's pure childhood friend was suddenly being whispered about whenever she walked into a room. Exactly what I wanted. But I wasn't finished. I had one final piece of revenge. I drove to Ethan's office. He looked terrible when he saw me. What are you doing here? I placed a folder on his desk. Your share of the apartment sale. He stared at it. I don't want it. That's unfortunate. I pushed it closer. Take it. He looked confused. Why? Because I want you to have enough money to survive. He almost smiled. Then I added. Just enough. His smile vanished. I don't understand. I don't want you dead or homeless. I stood. I want you alive. I smiled. Alive enough to remember what you lost every single time you look at your bank account. His face twisted. Chloe. You wanted Lily. I walked toward the door. Enjoy her. He suddenly grabbed my wrist. I yanked it away. Don't touch me. He released me immediately. His eyes were red. I was wrong. I know. I loved you. You loved the woman who cooked for you, cleaned for you, paid half your bills, and never questioned you. I opened the door. You didn't love me. I looked back. You loved being comfortable. Then I walked out. Outside, I checked my phone. A message from Lily was waiting. I hate you. I smiled. I typed back. Good. Then I blocked her. For the first time since waking up in that clinic, I felt completely satisfied. I hadn't forgiven them. I hadn't taken the moral high road. I hadn't convinced myself revenge was beneath me. I had simply given them exactly what they had given me. Humiliation. Loss. And the knowledge that the person they had treated like a disposable fool had been watching the entire time. And honestly, it felt fantastic. 6 months later, Lily was still dealing with the consequences of her untreated infections. She had eventually gone to a proper specialist, but by then the months of avoiding treatment had made everything far more complicated. The medications were stronger, the appointments were frequent, and every new test came with another bill she couldn't afford. Her biggest problem wasn't even the treatment. It was that she could no longer hide. The woman who had once spent years cultivating her image as Ethan's innocent childhood friend now had to explain her medical history to every doctor who treated her. Ethan wasn't doing much better. After discovering that Lily had lied about her health, her relationships, and the amount of money she'd taken from him, he wanted nothing to do with her. But he'd still been exposed. His own test results came back positive for 2 of the infections. He had to undergo treatment, follow-up testing, and weeks of avoiding sexual contact while his doctors made sure the infection was properly controlled. The irony wasn't lost on him. He had once thrown a cup of coffee in my face because I dared to question Lily's purity. Now he couldn't even hear the word pure without remembering the woman he destroyed for defending herself. His company eventually terminated him. His savings disappeared into legal fees, medical bills, and repayment demands. He moved into a tiny apartment and started working a job far below the position he'd once held. Lily tried contacting him several times. He never answered. As for Marcus, his affair with Lily became public after the evidence surrounding their relationship surfaced. His marriage collapsed. His position at the hospital disappeared. And when he was required to undergo testing after Lily's medical history became impossible to ignore, his results came back positive as well. He spent months going through treatment and follow-up appointments while his wife filed for divorce. 3 people. 3 very different lives. All brought down by the same obsession with lies, appearances, and pretending consequences didn't exist. I heard about them occasionally through former colleagues. Lily was still receiving treatment. Ethan had finished his medication but was required to return for follow-up testing. Marcus was dealing with the aftermath of his divorce and the damage to his career. I didn't visit them. I didn't send flowers. I didn't forgive them. I didn't need to. My own life had moved forward. My clinic was thriving. My name was respected again. I had bought a new apartment overlooking the city, and every morning I walked into my office beneath a plaque bearing my name. Sometimes patients came to me terrified after discovering they had an infection. I never judged them. I treated them. I gave them the information they needed and made sure they understood that getting tested and receiving treatment was nothing to be ashamed of. Lily's problem had never been that she got sick. It was that she spent years lying about it, refused proper care because she was terrified of losing her precious image, and dragged everyone around her into the disaster she created. One afternoon, I received a final message from an unknown number. It was Lily. I hope you're happy now. I looked at it for a moment. Then I typed. I am. I blocked the number. That was the last thing I ever heard from her. And honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better ending. They wanted me to disappear so they could live happily ever after. Instead, I survived. They lost everything. And every time they looked at the consequences of their choices, they had to remember the woman they thought they could destroy. Me.